Hello, everybody. C. Ray Brower here with Your Perfect Home Podcast. And we've got Patrick Schumacher with Schumacher Insurance Solutions. And I always get that screwed up, but we will be finding out about National Life Insurance Awareness. A little bit about Patrick coming up next. Maybe coming up next. There it is. And we're back. How's it going today, Patrick?
It's going pretty good. C. Ray, how are you?
You know, it's a great day. It's a great day. I got to get up and see an old friend and play a little golf this morning, and so things are going pretty good right now. Things are going pretty good. New listing coming on the market tomorrow, so no complaints.
There you go. Yeah, that sounds like a great way. Starting the day on what day is today? Thursday, playing golf.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Love it.
And how about you?
I didn't play golf this morning, but I did have a chance to get up and I don't exercise on Thursdays. Usually that's just Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then maybe sometimes on the weekend. But yeah, just kind of jump straight into work and just rolling.
Perfect day. A perfect day.
Yep.
Get busy rolling. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, this starting tomorrow is National Life Insurance Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. And could you give us an overview of what that is and what their real objective is to having a whole month dedicated to life insurance awareness?
Yes. So there is a nonprofit organization called Life Happens. Their website is lifehappens.org. They've been basically operating for 28 years. And this September, so beginning tomorrow, will be the 20th anniversary of Life Insurance Awareness Month. And Life Insurance Awareness Month and Life Happens, their goal is ultimately to try to help educate people in all matters of life insurance to better protect themselves and their families from really life's unexpected death of a family member. And so there's been just for a lot of years, there wasn't a lot of information, not a lot of educating that really happened around life insurance. And so this nonprofit was formed. I think it's crucial. Their motivation is money. They do not get paid.
Oh, we have frozen. Can you hear me? We can't hear Patrick.
So I might have lost you.
Not sure what's going on with our internet connection here. Are you on Wi-Fi or a wired connection? Try removing you from the studio and bringing you back. Oh, we lost Patrick. I'm sure he'll be back with us momentarily. So we can discuss some more about National Life Insurance Month. Let me send him a text so that we can see if we can't get him back. His Wi-Fi just went down, so we're going to be coming back shortly. So stick around and let's see if we can't get him connected again. While we do that, we will bring that up. There we go. And we've got Patrick back.
Goodness, you gotta love technology.
I run into it all the time. You were about halfway through explaining when you froze and I couldn't hear you.
So I just moved over to my iPad. My internet at my office went down. Of all the moments, why not in the middle of a live interview should it not go down?
Exactly. Why would it be any other time?
Yeah.
And that'll probably wreak havoc on our recording live because we'll have two different streams, but I think they can put that all together in the end. So we're actually recording this, and then there's the straight from your feed. So we'll go ahead and step back into where we were, which was, why is life insurance such a critical planning tool, and how does National Life Insurance Month help promote this understanding?
Yeah. So, and again, not sure where I got cut off, but I do want to kind of make sure it's known. So, life insurance, lifehappens.org. They are not a revenue generating. They're not promoting life insurance companies. They're not paid by people like me who utilize their resources. They really are about getting information to agents and brokers and to the public, but to the agents and brokers so that they can basically be having the conversations with their customers about the importance of life insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's just kind of the tail end there of what lifehappens.org is mission is. So,
And they're the ones that started the National Life Insurance Awareness Month.
yes, yep. And again, beginning tomorrow, it'll be the 20th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, so
20
they have
years, and most people don't even know about it.
right. So it's my job and the job of other agents and brokers to really promote them. If you go to lifehappens.org, you can see testimonials of just, and they're heart-wrenching stories, but they have a good ending, and they have a lot of testimonials that you can see. And sometimes I'll just go in there if I need a little boost of just what I can be doing to help. There's nothing more motivating to me than seeing how a family's been able to keep pressing forward after the loss of a loved one.
Right. Because it is definitely a traumatic time in life, and oftentimes people are not prepared for it at all. So,
Right. Yep.
Yep. So again, we'll drop back now to why is life insurance such a critical financial tool, and how's the National Life Insurance Month trying to promote it as a really critical financial planning tool?
Yeah. So, when I think of life insurance and financial planning, I tend to look at the two. I look at them as very separate, and they are one and the same. And so I'll try to kind of expand on that. So, really, for folks who have, sometimes it's been referred to as calling it lifestyle insurance, because the most, probably my most common type of customer that I have this conversation with is husband and wife who have children, and either one or both of the spouses work, but they've created a lifestyle built around a particular household income level. And so one of the reasons why and where life insurance and financial kind of planning come together is, if your lifestyle is here, and then something happens to one of the spouses and the income drops to here, well, life insurance will help basically replace that income of the person who passed unexpectedly. And so it'll protect, it's part of the financial plan because it's protecting any assets that have been saved up, retirement accounts. The surviving spouse won't have to tap in and drain those. And then the other part to me that I believe is so important that protects the lifestyle is, and I've seen cases where people couldn't keep up the lifestyle. They couldn't keep the home that their children were in, and so they've got to downsize, and that might take them to different schools. Um, and so what ends up happening is, uh, in addition to having the loss of a potentially a parent,
Right.
now you have all the other added issues to start dealing with, having to make new friends, discomfort of being maybe in a smaller home. Like, so that's where the lifestyle, insurance sometimes gets referred to as.
Sure, sure. When life happens, it can be a very devastating time, and if you haven't planned for it, like you said, you end up having to downsize, move into something that you didn't really want, into a worse school district, more crime-ridden area, whatever. I mean, there's just so many variables that can happen. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yep.
So to go on with that, what are some of the common misconceptions about life insurance, and what's National Life Insurance Awareness Month doing to get rid of those misconceptions?
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest one is that it's too expensive. So, you think, somebody might hear, well, yeah, you're making $100,000 a year, you should probably have $1 million worth of life insurance. And so they hear that word million and they're like, oh no, I can't afford that. Well, the reality is, let's just say somebody's 35 years old, is in good good health. I always like to ask people, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your health? Some people will say, oh, I'm probably a 5. But you get a lot of people who are like, yeah, no, I'm an 8 or a 9, and even some people a 10. And so a 35-year-old that's maybe in that 8 to 10 range, if they don't smoke or use tobacco, they might be paying $40 a month, $50 a month for $1 million of coverage. And so I think the average, if I recall correctly, the average estimate is that life insurance is 3 times as more expensive than it actually is. So those are statistics that the Life Happens organization will try to get information out there. It's things that, as an agent, that I should be getting out there to people, because again, when people see, oh gosh, a local pizza joint here in Lodi, you might spend $50 on a pizza. So
Right.
is it really? And let's not get started on what we're spending on our cell phones and on our cell phone bills. So then part of my job is to help point out and show people, like, this is something we should be prioritizing over our cell phone bills.
Right.
I like to kind of think of myself as an advocate for children who can't have these conversations with their parents. Their 5-year-old, their 10-year-old, their 16-year-old isn't going to be asking mom and dad if they have life insurance just in case something happens to them, right? So
Right.
sometimes that's one of those things that, I'll start to say some things, and it may feel like I'm kind of stepping over the boundary of, like, uh, trying to speak to them, but it's like, no, I got to advocate for these kids who aren't thinking about this stuff the way that I've been trained and obviously become passionate about.
Well, sure, sure. I mean, that's the the children are really what we should all be concerned about in
Mm.
all walks of life. Our walk of life, those over there. I mean, it is sad the state that we have got ourselves in this country about children,
Mm-hmm.
and the various things that children are put through that shouldn't have to happen. And of course, when life happens, like we were talking about, then they get put through some really bad things that, like you said, $50 a month. I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of these kids end up having to grow up a lot faster than they've otherwise would have chosen. We've got some kids who end up having to actually go to work before completing high school, just
right.
to be able to help mom to, or dad to pay bills. So, yes, it is, and it's another area where it's easy to become passionate about, because there really is. And my hope, and usually when I have these conversations with people, My hope is that the genuineness of actually my heart behind the product comes out, and that it doesn't sound like a sales pitch. Never want it to sound like a scare tactic. We've just been doing this long enough to see the benefit of how people who have had life insurance in place, their process of grieving versus those who haven't. It's drastically different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When you have it in place, you can actually go through the process of grieving when it's not there, and you've got all the financial worries and the health worries and the security worries, all those worries that come with that life happens thing.
Mhm.
Um, you've got to deal with them and can't really go through that grieving process.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one other thing that we often hear is that people, they'll share that they have life insurance through their employer, which is a great benefit that a lot of employers provide. Um, Pretty typically, the level of coverage that their employers provide is often not enough for what people actually need. There might be a few professions that actually do a really good job with it. So I always encourage people, check to see what your employer offers. It may be 1 time salary, 3 times salary, but typically it's not going to fully be enough for them. And then the other part that, with employer provided life insurance is that the employer owns that. So under most scenarios, the employee is not going to be able to take that policy with them if they resign, or if they're terminated. The policy it's a group policy, stays with the carrier,
Right.
the employer. So it is nice to have a product that you have control over, um, and don't have to worry. If somebody was 40 and they go work for a company for 10 years and they've got a life insurance policy, and then they resign or are terminated, well, now they got to qualify at age 50 if they still need life insurance in their household, which they more than likely would. So that's another. It's a nice benefit to have, but always find out how much, and then what are the options if you end up separating from that employer.
Sure. Questions to ask. Good
Yep.
questions to ask, and make
Yeah.
sure that you're informed about what you've actually got. Because when you're misinformed, there's nothing but trouble in your future.
Yeah.
That's a great advice there. I appreciate that. So, in your experience, how has life insurance evolved, and where do you see the emerging trends with the life insurance industry?
So life insurance has gotten cheaper. One of the things that obviously there's people are living longer. There's been advancements in healthcare. Each decade there's newer advancements. Life insurance companies have more data to look at. So from that standpoint, it's become more cost effective. They've also been able to streamline some of the underwriting processes, and so whereas when I first started in this industry, anytime you purchased a policy, you basically had to go through a underwriting exam, which entailed having your blood drawn, your height, weight, and blood pressure checked, and so now for some of our younger folks, who are maybe even under 40, and a policy that might take them to age 60, if they're healthy, they've probably got about a 50% chance of being streamlined without having to go through a paramedical exam.
Oh,
So for those of us, myself included, who don't like having blood drawn, um, I've passed out on multiple occasions having blood drawn due to for life insurance exams. Um, but so for some of those folks, it's kind of a nice perk.
sure, sure.
And where it's going to go, that's a great question. There's really kind of the one thing that comes to mind, and this might even be a separate podcast we do down the road, but is long-term care. So long-term care was previously on more of like what I refer to as like a health insurance chassis. So It's premiums can adjust each year if the insurance company needs to adjust them. And whereas life insurance is it's set. So if you get a term life insurance, your policy is set for whatever the number of years that term is. And so they've started converting the the long-term care more onto a life insurance chassis, which is great for our older customers who need long-term care, and getting them into a product that is a fixed rate and not going to change potentially. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. When you're on a fixed income, it's great having fixed rates.
Right.
Right. So that's probably the one thing that really comes to mind. I'm a big fan of term life insurance, and so it's very simple. It's not a complicated product. There's a lot of life insurance products out there that are very confusing and promise a lot. I would just recommend, if you are meeting with a life insurance advisor, is just a couple things. Ask questions and make sure you fully understand the product you're purchasing. And if you don't, it's probably not worth buying. You should be either there's more questions to ask, or potentially find another agent or broker.
Most definitely, if you do not understand anything in life, it's all about asking more questions. And
Yes,
that's probably the biggest downfall that many of us have and have been subject to, is not wanting to feel like we're stupid. So we don't ask enough questions, and we just go ahead and go with whatever was put in front of us. Oh, okay, well that must be what it is because that's what he said. Like you said, find another agent, broker to speak to if you're not getting all the answers. I relate that to something I talk to people about all the time, which is their doctor. Somebody I know has got a medical problem and they've been told this, and they're concerned, they're worried. Well, did you ask enough questions first? And usually no. Well, are you going to get a second opinion? Well, no, he's a doctor. I said, but you realize, I mean, and this is a fact, 50% of the doctors graduated in the bottom half of the class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because they got MD behind their name doesn't mean that they know everything, or that they're practicing ethically, or just out of not knowing, maybe, so.
Yep. And I would even, there's a lot of us insurance folks who, squeaked by probably in our passing of the licensing, and
Right.
and it's also tough to say. I mean, you may, or it's probably a good question and a fair question to ask the person you're working with. How long have you been a licensed insurance broker for?
Right.
Because it's very different if I believe if I tell you, well, I've been licensed to sell life insurance for 3 years or 15 years, or shoot, maybe even 25 years. Like there's just more experience. And I would say probably for the younger life insurance agents, and again, I was one, and I can look back and just remember that, the carriers who are coming to promote their products, they just think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And so part of my job is to look through it, and I'm pretty oh gosh, what's the word? I'm just a little hesitant at times with what they bring. So I like to pick it apart, and then I like to tell them, I don't like this part of your policy, or this is really good, but it's overly priced, and just give them some feedback.
Yeah. Look at it and give them true, honest feedback and opinion.
Yeah.
That's very good. Very, very good. And last, could you share some practical tips with our listeners as to what they should, who are considering purchasing life insurance during National Life Insurance Awareness Month?
Yeah, so there's some general rules of thumb that I think are helpful, and a lot of them are in the industry would be maybe considered standards, and other people may disagree, but I've kind of fallen into the camp that buying term insurance is the best option for most people. When I say most, I mean probably like 97 to 98%. There's very select few to solicit other products for. And so I like the idea of buying term insurance. And, I mentioned a term policy might cost $50 for $1 million term policy. Well, that same policy for a whole life or universal life might run you $250 or $500. So I love the concept of buying term and then investing the difference into mutual funds. And I believe doing that, you win every time. And so I ran a scenario of a 35-year-old investing the difference. So instead of life insurance at $50 a month to $250 for a whole life or universal life,
Right.
that savings of $200 invested monthly over to the age of 67 at a 10% annual rate of return is almost $1 million. It's $963,000.
Wow.
So that's kind of my thought. Buy term, invest the difference. Another good general rule of thumb is 10 times your annual income. So if you make $100,000 a year, $1 million is probably a sufficient amount of life insurance for you. And the way financial advisors who kind of follow this principle view that is, if you're making $100,000 a year and then you get a $1 million death benefit settlement, well, if you invested that and made 10%, you've now replaced that $100,000 a year to the surviving spouse. So those are some of the numbers behind it.
And with it invested, and getting the 10% return, you're just taking the return. You still got the $1 million.
Exactly. Yep. So you've just replaced that person's income. We'll say you can't replace your spouse, but you can replace their income.
Right.
And it's that simple. So some other things I would say is don't wait. Tomorrow never comes, and I've had conversations with people who it was on their to-do list and something happened. I've had conversations, and these are the hard ones, where I've had down to connect with somebody, a particular client or couple, and something has happened prior to us sitting down and meeting. So I would just say don't wait. Not only are we not guaranteed tomorrow, but we're also not guaranteed insurability. So while I may be healthy enough today to get life insurance, that could change. And I've seen that happen. So my passion comes from the stories, and when I share this, right, like individual faces and families come to mind in a very real way. So that would be my one encouragement is get out there and start having the conversation with people that you trust, advisors that you trust, and don't put it off on the back burner.
Love it. Everybody, Patrick Schumacher Insurance Solutions in Lodi. Didn't get your banner running, so if you wanted to get everybody contact information, that'd be great.
Sure. My email address is real easy. It's pat@insurancelodi.com. Our website is insurancelodi.com. And my phone number is 209-334-1400. We'd love to sit down and talk. There's no cost to meeting with me, and we'll just have a very low pressure conversation. And if there's something for you, great. If not, it'll at least have been nice to meet you.
That's a wonderful way to do business. I appreciate you so much, Patrick. You go out and be the sunshine in somebody's rainy day, because that's what I always do. Everybody else, remember to see Ray to find your perfect home. My number, 209-300-0311. c.ray@yourperfecthomegroup.com. Like, comment, and share wherever you are watching us, and we will see you again real soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.